is a tale about a legendary sword told in ancient folklore. This sword was no ordinary weapon. It possessed extraordinary power to cut through stones as hard as steel, split oceans, and even defeat the strongest enemies. But there was one absolute condition for all these amazing abilities. The sword had to be sharpened every single day. If not, it would lose its sharpness, rust, and eventually become nothing more than an old iron bar. When you hear this story, you might immediately think, why is this sword so complicated? Why can't it stay sharp without constant sharpening? The answer is simple. It's how the universe works. Great things don't just come automatically. They require continuous maintenance. Now, what if this story about the sword is actually a reflection of something we've had since birth? Something far more important than any legendary sword in this world: our brain. Our brain is the most advanced tool ever created by the universe. It can solve problems, generate new ideas, produce art, and even design technologies that change the world. But just like the legendary sword in the tale, our brain also needs sharpening. If neglected, it will lose its sharpness. Our minds can become sluggish, stagnant, and even numb. Imagine this. How many people around you seem to have lost their zest for life? They wake up in the morning, go through the same routine every day, and return home without anything truly new happening. Are they stupid? Number. They've just let their brains go dull. So, what makes our brains dull? And more importantly, how do we sharpen them again? If you've ever felt stuck or wondered why life feels the same over and over, maybe this is one of the reasons. Your brain hasn't been sharpened enough. But don't worry, it's not entirely your fault. Many factors can make our brains less productive, and I'll explain some of them. There are 5 common causes that dull our brains. The first, monotonous routine. Routine indeed organizes life, but if it becomes too monotonous, it can make our brain lazy. Imagine our brain as a machine. If that machine is only used to perform the same task repeatedly, it will consume energy but won't grow. Have you heard the saying, if you keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same results? Well, that's absolutely true when it comes to our brain. The second cause, lack of challenge. Our brain loves challenges. Seriously, it's designed to learn new things and overcome obstacles. If we don't give it challenges, it gets lazy. For example, think back to when you first learned to ride a bike or play the guitar. It was really tough at first, right? But once you succeeded, it felt incredibly satisfying. That's because your brain was growing. The bottom line is, if you stop challenging your brain, it stops growing too. Moving on to the third cause, information overload. In today's world, we have unlimited access to information through the internet. But here's the thing. Too much information can make our brain overthink. We end up scrolling through social media, reading articles, or watching videos without really processing what we're consuming. Eventually, our brain becomes nothing more than a storage unit for digital junk. There's no meaningful process happening. The fourth cause, lack of rest and healthy lifestyle. This might sound cliché, but a healthy lifestyle is truly crucial for our brain. Lack of sleep, poor eating habits, or rarely exercising can prevent our brain from functioning optimally. Imagine driving a car with almost no fuel left. Its performance won't be great, right? Well, our brain is the same. If we don't provide it with enough nourishment through rest and a healthy lifestyle, its performance will drop. And the fifth cause, negative thinking. This is something we often don't realize. Negative thoughts like, I can't do this is too hard, or why bother, act like poison to our brain. They make our brain reluctant to take action, even before we try anything. So, if you often think negatively, try changing your mindset. Replace those thoughts with positive ones. For instance, I can learn this step by step, or I don't have to be perfect. What matters is that I try. Now that we understand what dulls our brain, why should we bother sharpening it? Isn't being smart enough to survive good enough? It's not wrong, but simply surviving isn't enough. Life isn't just about survival, it's about growth. You've probably heard the term high value. High value people aren't just academically smart. They're also emotionally, socially, and even spiritually intelligent. They have the ability to face challenges, make the right decisions, and add value to others. A well-sharpened brain is the key to becoming high value. With a sharp brain, you can learn faster, because a continuously sharpened brain will absorb new information more quickly. You'll also become more creative, able to think of unique solutions to problems. Additionally, you'll become more productive, staying focused and not easily distracted by what's around you. Most importantly, it can make you happier. Believe it or not, a healthy brain stabilizes your mood and makes life happier than ever before. So, how do we start sharpening our brains so they don't go dull again? What practical steps can we take starting today? And more importantly, how can we make this process a lifelong habit? Don't worry, we'll discuss all these answers soon. But before that, I want to ask you, if you had the chance to change one thing in your daily routine to make your brain sharper, what would it be? Take a moment to think about it, because reflecting on questions like this will prepare us for the next discussion. Imagine our brain like our body. If we want to be healthy and strong, we go to the gym, lift weights, run on the treadmill, or take yoga classes. Well, our brain needs its own gym, too. The difference is, the equipment in the brain's gym isn't physical. It's activities that engage our mind. But how do we do it? What kind of exercises can make our brain sharper? In this section, I'm going to give you some practical ways to sharpen your brain, from simple things to more serious ones. Let's get started. First, let's start by understanding our brain, specifically about neuroplasticity, the secret superpower we all have. Before we dive into the techniques, there's one important thing you need to know. Our brain is flexible. Our brain isn't static like a rock. It's dynamic, like clay. The fancy term for this is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt to different situations throughout our lives. What does this mean? It means no matter how old you are, your brain can still grow. For example, if you learn a new language in your 40s, your brain will create new connections to handle that language. Or, if you learn to play the piano in your 60s, your brain will build areas responsible for motor coordination. So, when someone says, "Oh, I'm too old to learn," that's a big myth. Our brain doesn't know the word retirement. What matters is that we give it the right kind of training and stay consistent. Here's an analogy. Our brain is like a river. If the water keeps flowing, it'll carve out new paths. But if the water stops, the paths dry up and die. So, to keep our brain productive, we need to keep flowing the water through activities that stimulate the mind. Next, practical exercises, daily activities to sharpen the brain. Now, we're getting to the most anticipated part. What daily activities can make our brain sharper? Here are some ideas you can try. First, start reading. Make it a habit to read anything, whether it's books, novels, or even newspapers. Reading is one of the most effective ways to sharpen the brain. Why? Because reading doesn't just add knowledge, it also trains the brain to process information. When we read, our brain works hard to understand words, organize ideas, and even imagine the story. You can start with genres you enjoy, like novels or your favorite comics. It's okay if you don't jump straight into non-fiction. Then, try varying your reading material. Read a scientific article today, a poem tomorrow, and a biography the day after. This will make your brain more flexible. Second, learn new skills. Our brain loves challenges, remember? One of the best ways to sharpen the brain is by learning new skills. For example, learn to play a musical instrument, like guitar, piano, or even DJ equipment. Learn coding or graphic design, or learn a foreign language. Let me share a short story as motivation. There's a grandmother in Japan named Kimiko Nishimoto. She started learning photography in her 70s, and now her work is exhibited in international galleries. So it's never too late to learn. Third, practice creativity. Creativity isn't just for artists. Everyone needs creativity to solve everyday problems. Ways to practice it include drawing or coloring. Even if the results are bad, that's fine. What matters is the process. Write a daily journal or short stories. Or play puzzles or strategy games like Sudoku or chess. Try to set aside at least one day a week for creative activities. For example, on Saturday afternoon or whenever you have more free time. Fourth, meditation and mindfulness. This might sound strange to some people, but meditation is super powerful for our brain. Research has shown that meditation can reduce stress, improve focus, and even help our brain fight diseases like Alzheimer's. You don't need to sit still for an hour right away. Start with 5 minutes a day, focus on your breathing, and gradually increase the duration over time. Fifth, physical activity. Our brain doesn't just need mental exercise, it also needs physical support. Physical activities like jogging, yoga, or even a leisurely walk can give our brain extra oxygen and endorphins that boost our mood. There's even research showing that children who exercise regularly perform much better in school compared to those who don't. So moving your body equals moving your brain. Next, avoid the trap of mental junk food. Aside from giving our brain good training, we also need to avoid things that make our brain lazy or overworked. Some examples include scrolling social media without purpose. This is like feeding our brain junk food. It has no benefit and only wastes our time. Excessive multitasking. Multitasking is sometimes necessary, but if done excessively, our brain gets tired and loses focus. Consuming negative information. Reading too much bad news or watching toxic content makes our brain negative too. So, start filtering the information you consume. Remember, limit your social media scrolling. For example, set a 20-minute timer daily for social media and focus on beneficial activities afterward. This way, the time you gain will be more valuable. Build a balanced routine. One important thing often overlooked is this: our brain needs rest. Even though we give it plenty of challenges, we must ensure it has time to recover. How? Get enough sleep, at least 7 to 8 hours a day. Create a daily schedule that balances work, learning, and rest. Don't forget to reward yourself after overcoming big challenges. Our brain is like a smartphone. If the battery runs out, we need to recharge it. If we don't, it'll die and become unusable. Finally, reflect on your progress so far. It's crucial to check our progress regularly. Every week, ask yourself, did I learn something new this week? What activities made me feel more productive recently? And what can I improve on moving forward? This reflection will make us more aware of our personal growth. And remember, progress doesn't have to be huge. Small, consistent steps are far more important than big steps taken only once. So, now you know what you can do to sharpen your brain. But how do we turn all of this into lifelong habits? And more importantly, how do we stay motivated despite obstacles or temptations? In the final section, we'll discuss practical ways to maintain this momentum, plus life motivation that will keep you inspired to keep growing. Stay tuned. In the first part, we learned about the importance of sharpening our brain so it doesn't go dull. In the second part, we discussed practical techniques to make our brain sharper. Now it's time to wrap everything up into one cohesive whole, and of course, add some extra motivation to keep you moving forward. Let's start by putting all the puzzle pieces together. The first step to becoming high value is realizing that our brain is our greatest asset. It's not just a tool for thinking, but also a tool for creating, solving problems, and even inspiring others. But remember, an unsharpened brain is like a sports car that's rarely driven. The potential is there, but it never delivers its maximum performance. Here are some key points we've discussed. Our brain is flexible, neuroplasticity, and can grow at any time. Activities like reading, learning new skills, or meditating can boost our brain's performance. Avoid mental junk food and build a balanced routine. So, the bottom line is, our brain needs training, rest, and challenges to stay sharp. But how do we turn all this into a habit? And here's the most important part of all: how to build habits that last. Most people fail not because they don't know what to do, but because they can't turn those changes into habits. Here are a few tips for you. First, start small. Don't try to become Albert Einstein overnight. Start with simple things, like read 5 pages of a book every morning, meditate for 5 minutes a day, or learn 1 new word in a foreign language daily. To help you, use the 2-minute rule. If you can start an activity within 2 minutes, just do it. For example, if you want to start journaling, write 1 sentence first. Usually, once you start, the motivation to continue will come naturally. Second, build daily commitments. Create a realistic daily schedule. For example, morning, read a scientific article for 15 minutes. Afternoon, take a short break to meditate or go for a light walk. Evening, reflect on your day through journaling. Here's a motivational story for you. There was a programmer named John Sonmez who used to live without direction. He started learning 1 new topic every day, no matter how busy he was. The result? He's now one of the biggest influencers in the tech world. Some of you might already be familiar with his name. Third, find a partner or community. Learning with others is more fun and keeps us motivated. Try joining a community to learn new skills, like a book club, online course, or discussion forum. Share your progress on social media or in a group chat with close friends. Sometimes positive social pressure can help us stay consistent. So, start small, take it easy, and don't rush. Maybe this can motivate your life moving forward and give you a reason why you should keep moving forward. I want you to imagine something. Imagine if you sharpen your brain every day, little by little. In a year, you'll become a better version of yourself. In 5 years, you'll be someone your past self wouldn't even recognize. You'll have brilliant ideas, unique solutions, and the ability to face any challenge. But why is all this important? The answer is simple. Because life is short. We don't know when our time will run out. So why not use the time we have to become the best version of ourselves? Your brain is the greatest weapon you've ever had. Don't let it gather dust. Every second is an opportunity to become better. Don't waste it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. What matters is that you learn from them. If you're serious about starting to sharpen your brain, here are some concrete steps you can take starting today. 1. Write down your goals. Write on paper or in a digital note what you want to achieve. For example, I want to speak fluent English within a year. 2. Create a schedule. Set aside daily time for activities that sharpen your brain, like reading or meditating. 3. Start with one thing. Focus on one activity until it becomes a habit, then add another. 4th, weekly reflection. Every week, ask yourself, am I better than I was last week? This is the beginning of your journey to sharpen your brain and become high value. Remember the metaphor of the legendary sword we discussed at the start. A sword sharpened every day will always be ready to face challenges. The same goes for our brain. So, starting now, don't let your brain rust. Use all the knowledge we've discussed here. Learn new things, challenge yourself, and don't forget to give your brain time to rest. And most importantly, always believe in your own potential. Because in the end, your sword isn't just for fighting enemies. Your sword is a tool to change the world. And your world starts with your own brain. So, what's your first step today? What are you going to do to start sharpening your brain? Remember, it's never too late to start. What matters is that you start now. Thank you for sticking with me and sharing this valuable knowledge until the end. May your journey to sharpen your brain and become high value be filled with success, happiness, and inspiration. See you on the next adventure. Wishing you all joyful days ahead.